There's likely no corner of the internet more infamous than the furry community. The idea that millions of online users enjoy role-playing and identifying themselves as anthropomorphic animals is a perplexing concept of its own. However, most of these people are ultimately harmless weirdos exploring their passion. But, paired with the small yet prominent amount of unhinged psychos and degenerates that inhabit the space, the furry community has taken up a much more unsavory identity from some outside spectators. One such individual is Blue Fulf, a controversial furry influencer with a history of drama, some self-inflicted, and some simply brought onto them by malicious actors. Today, we'll explore Blue's history to try and understand why they seemingly can't stop getting into drama. Blue Fulf first discovered the furry community in early 2017, at the age of just 12. While browsing YouTube videos featuring Five Nights at Freddy's cosplays, he stumbled across a video of a fursuit wedding. Blue was intrigued by this and instantly became enamored with furries, deciding that he wanted to be a part of the community as well. This event is documented in a journal entry from February 23rd, 2017. Recently, I have joined the furry community and I love it so much. I decided to keep this journal to track my money to turn my fursona into a fursuit. Now my parents, I don't know if they approve of furries and will take everything I've worked for, everything I care about, furries. In May of that same year, Blue would join furry adjacent forums like Fur Affinity as well as social media sites like Discord and Twitter with the hopes of making new friends. His first fursona was initially a Dutch angel dragon named Shamrock, which was eventually changed to his now well-known fursona, a fox-wolf hybrid named Blue. This coincided with multiple online aliases including Wolfie Blue, Bluteus Poppius, Blue Pop, and many other variations of the same wording. By mid-2019, a little over 2 years after becoming a furry, Blue would already find himself at the center of multiple call-out posts and drama. An ex-boyfriend of Blue's named Laszlo would publicly expose his habitual cheating, claiming that he was a manipulative liar who used people for fame and popularity. Another call-out post, created by @creamsiclepup on Twitter, would claim that Blue had been sharing and receiving explicit images with adults in a not-safe-for-work Discord server, under the false pretense that he was above the age of consent. When moderation staff discovered this, he was promptly banned from the server. Creamsiclepup would later make a second thread, accusing Blue of commissioning not-safe-for-work scat fetish art from an adult artist named Larios. This was something Blue would eventually confirm to enjoy in real life, and was not just an aspect of fantasy or fictional roleplay. I guess he really took the the poop maxing seriously. While commissioning scat art is certainly degenerate and disgusting, that was not the main issue, as Blue was under the age of consent, and distribution of these images to minors is potentially illegal depending on your location, not to mention just wrong, something the adult artists seem to not care about too much. As if this habitual lying and dishonest behavior wasn't enough, Blue would notably claim to be 16 and 17 at the time of these events, when he was actually only 14 years old. It is important to note, of course, that Blue was a minor, and as a result, holding him responsible for these actions is much less important than holding the adults, who didn't properly verify his age, responsible for their part. Realistically, to hold this against him in the current day would be vindictive and wrong, but it is concerning that someone as young as him had interest in these bizarre fetishes. It's not typical that 14-year-olds are already so far into not safe for work material that they like scat. It's likely that the people Blue was around online had a very negative influence on his behavior. But this isn't to say that these events were viewed favorably, even with those caveats. Furries in the community became disillusioned with Blue, noticing his habit of lying about his age and believing him to be a risk to those around him. Boys and girls, it's time to take the Aura pill. Did you know that over 2.9 billion records were hacked from national public data, which offers personal information to employers, private investigators, staffing agencies, and others doing background checks? These stolen records include a person's full name, address, date of birth, social security number, and phone number, along with alternate names and birth date. And not only that, but members of this mysterious hacker group have reportedly released this information for free online. And unfortunately, it gets even darker. Right now, data brokers are making a fortune selling your personal information to robocallers, to scammers, and to others who want to learn more about you. So now that you know, I guess the only question is, what are you going to do about it? I know what I'm going to do, and it's called Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura can easily and quickly identify data brokers who are exposing your info and then submit opt-out requests on your behalf. You see, data brokers are legally required to remove your info if you ask them to, but figuring out how to do it is kind of annoying. Thankfully, Aura can handle it all for you. And it's got so much more. It's an all-in-one app with parental controls, antivirus, password management, a VPN, identity theft insurance, and more. Not only that, but Aura will personally alert me if they find my phone number or any other sensitive information leaked online, online that could be available to, bad people. They give me fast fraud alerts if anyone is trying to use that data to access any of my accounts. They also offer up to $5 million in identity theft insurance if your identity gets stolen. And all of these benefits, all of these great, amazing benefits are all at one affordable price. So stop leaving yourself vulnerable to data breaches. Go to my sponsor, aura.com/turkeytom, to get a 14-day free trial and see how much of your data has been compromised. Blue eventually would be involved in another call-out post, but this time as the creator. He would attempt to draw attention to the owner of the Furry Valley Discord server named Simba. Simba supposedly had hired people to dox Blue's friends for reasons that are never directly stated. This call-out would result in Simba threatening to dox Blue himself, prompting a second call-out post where he links to Simba's Kiwi Farms thread. However, due to Blue's reputation, many people did not take this call-out seriously. Multiple comments on this post highlight Blue's tendency to be involved in drama, demonstrating the negative reputation Blue had earned himself. Despite his poor public image, Blue still managed to garner himself a substantial following on Twitter thanks to his furry-adjacent shitposting. Most of his tweets typically centered around being a furry, being extremely gay, or being a furry who's also extremely gay. These posts would get tons of likes, comments, and retweets from other like-minded furries who found his shitposting humorous and endearing. He would even reach a point of prominence where people would create fan art of his persona, which truly demonstrated the admiration he had garnered from his presence in the community. With his status online, he would eventually begin uploading to YouTube. While his uploads were inconsistent and sporadic, they do help give a glimpse as to what Blue was like in his early years as an online figure. In the oldest remaining video on his channel, Blue promotes his Minecraft server and discusses future plans.
I am going to be starting releasing weekly videos once more, gaming videos, story videos, and maybe in the future when I get my suit, some fursuit videos. So I'm very excited for that as well.
While it seems like a good chunk of videos have been deleted, some archived content still remains, such as videos where he roasts his followers' Twitter fursonas.
So first up, we have Bolty. You probably stink because you're green.
Others show him simply having fun playing Minecraft with his friends, reviewing furry memes, or thanking his followers for their support. Not much would happen for the next few years, as Blue managed to stay out of drama and continued to grow his online presence, reaching 14,000 followers in June of 2020. And in July, Blue would finally receive the head of his fursuit, which he would unbox live on stream. By August of 2021, Blue had surpassed the 25,000 follower milestone, and would finally come out as gay to his mother. A month later, in September, he would then come out to both of his parents as a trans woman, changing his name from Caden to Jade. While Blue's mother was understanding and supportive, their father was less than thrilled about it. The culmination of her poor grades in school, as well as her furry lifestyle, paired together with this recent revelation, pushed her father over the edge.
My dad threatened to kick me out last Friday. He said stuff about it again this past week, like every day. It's because of my lifestyle and because my grades and just everything. Like, I was having a mental breakdown the other day, and it just made him even madder. While I was having my mental breakdown, he was just like, I don't want you in the house anymore. And it's just such a mess right now. He doesn't even talk to me anymore.
Luckily for Blue, her mother was supportive of her lifestyle, both as a trans woman and as a furry. So supportive, in fact, that she would create her own furry Twitter account to interact with her daughter. This was short-lived, however, as someone eventually created not safe for work art of their fursonas having sex, resulting in her mother abandoning the account forever. Blue's father, on the other hand, was still frustrated with the situation, supposedly making a post on Quora seeking advice on how to handle this dilemma. As it persisted, her father's disapproval would begin to take a serious toll on Blue's mental health. I keep having panic attacks so much, I constantly feel like everyone hates me and I'm about to explode. Because if I say anything, my mom will know, and everyone will say I'm just being that way for clout. What happened to me? I ruined everything. The final straw for Blue's father would be her attendance at the 2022 Furry Weekend in Atlanta, which was her first convention since joining the fandom. Despite her mother's well wishes, her father was adamantly against it, believing that furries were sexual deviants and it was an immoral lifestyle. This resulted in her father cutting her off financially, cutting her cell phone service, blocking her phone from accessing the internet, and taking away her car. His reasoning for this was that supporting Blue financially was supporting her deviant behavior. With nowhere else to turn, and with the help of her partner, Dakota, a GoFundMe was set up to assist Blue with moving out and paying bills. This GoFundMe would receive 62 donations and reach its $1,500 goal in only 2 days. After moving in with a friend, Blue would be forced to move back in temporarily with her parents, likely due to not having a job and running out of the GoFundMe money. This also meant that Blue had to temporarily stop transitioning due to not being able to afford her medications. Despite her father's disapproval, it seemed he was still willing to let her stay at the house even after turning 18. In a text message publicly shared by Blue, her father expresses pity for her, saying, "It is your decision to live your life how you want to, but I don't have to agree or approve of it. I feel sorry for you, because the path you're choosing is hard and lonely." But things for Blue began looking up as she reached 45,000 followers on Twitter and earned herself a job working for Domino's as a delivery driver. She announced this alongside a photo of her with a coworker who also identified as a furry. This was short-lived, however, as detractors of Blue would supposedly email pictures of her leaked nudes to Domino's, resulting in her being fired. These nudes were allegedly obtained by an A-log named Jericho, who possibly collected them through direct messages or her private not safe for work Twitter. For those unfamiliar, the term A-log spawned from Anthony Logato, who became infamous amongst Chris Chan historians for his over-the-top and extreme criticisms of the well-known lolcow Chris Chan. Essentially, an A-log is a troll or detractor who goes to extreme measures to provoke or criticize a lolcow, typically expressing an unnecessary disdain or hatred for those they target. These people also share many similarities to the lolcows they despise, believing that they are superior despite sharing those same shortcomings. All of these traits reflect the behavior of the original A-log. Thus, many believe that some of Blue's A-logs shared many similarities to her, being gay or trans furries themselves, who felt that she gave the furry community as well as transgender people a bad reputation. This allegedly compelled Jericho to do what they did, and would compel future A-logs to harass and eventually dox Blue. Something also worth mentioning is a call-out thread posted in late December of 2022, where Blue alleged that in 2020, she was groomed by a local furry who went by the alias Rascarge Redfin, both online and in person. According to the story, Blue was 15 at the time, while Rascar was 29. Allegedly, after meeting up in person with some mutual friends, they began flirting over text messages. This flirting soon became in real-life cuddling, before evolving into a full-on sexual relationship where Blue would sneak out of the house and the adult would even sneak into Blue's parents' basement to have sex with him. Blue states that she had recently had a revelation regarding all of this and that she was finally able to move on. Blue's history of online conflict and her recent falling out with her father not only earned her the attention of A-logs, but would also garner the attention of online users on the infamous drama site Kiwi Farms, where a thread was posted documenting many of the same events discussed thus far. In February of 2023, Blue would acknowledge this in a video uploaded to Twitter, where she seemed to take it on the chin and laugh it off.
So, I got doxxed, but like, I've just gotten to the point where I've had to go through so much stuff online that I don't care anymore. So I'm just kind of vibing. And
despite claiming that the trolls couldn't get to her, this didn't seem to entirely be the case, as shortly after, she would wipe nearly 100,000 tweets from her account and unfollow nearly 5,000 people. Regardless of her supposed mindfulness, Blue's next encounter with trolls would prove to be something that she couldn't ignore. On February 11th, 2023, a 16-year-old trans girl named Brianna Gray was murdered by two fellow students in what was determined to be a premeditated hate crime. This story would garner a large amount of notoriety, specifically in the online trans community, as many felt it was a reflection of the unwelcoming social climate that trans people are forced to endure. But that's not to say everyone felt sympathy for the situation. Valid L's is a now suspended anti-trans gimmick account that sought to mock, harass, and even dox transgender individuals online, something that the now deceased Brianna Gay would not be spared from. In a post announcing the passing of the 16-year-old girl, Valid L's would respond with a cigarette emoji. Instead of expressing sympathy for the murder, Valid L's chose to mock the entire thing, which obviously upset a lot of people. On top of this, they would also post an image of a gravestone marked with Brianna's birth name and labeling her as a casualty of cultural enrichment. Blue would find this behavior disgusting, publicly criticizing them and calling for their deplatforming. But this public call-out would not sit well with Valid L's, who would set their sights on Blue Fulf as their next target. They would soon post screenshots of Blue allegedly grooming a minor by initiating roleplay on Discord. With allegations of this nature, obviously people were very angry at the idea that Blue had victimized someone under the age of consent, and as a result, some more passionate individuals would take matters into their own hands. Some would even go as far as to track down and contact Blue's estranged father, informing him of these screenshots. "I just received the following text. You're an adult. Stop it or you're going to end up in jail. I will not bail you out for this. Your mom thinks we taught you right from wrong. Apparently not. Please keep us uninvolved with your freak life. I'm not interested in receiving these calls or text messages." Blue would quickly profess her innocence, stating that the screenshots in question were fake.
about how I was grooming minors or whatever. It was a fake screenshot. There's tons of proof here. It's been confirmed by the chat itself that they're just doing it to me.
Despite the inauthentic nature of these messages, many had already made up their minds in regards to Blue, as they would continue to harass her over the coming days. Luckily, there were also a large number of people who had her back, and were more specifically fed up with the Valid L's Twitter page and their antics. With all of this support, Blue began to feel she had a valid case for a defamation lawsuit, and so she started a GoFundMe to help her pay for legal costs and hire a lawyer, where she would raise over $8,000 from nearly 300 backers. While on the surface, it may seem like she had a strong case considering the faked messages, considering the actual terms to qualify defamation, it seems like a battle she was destined to lose. For starters, the Valid L's Twitter account was run by an anonymous individual whose identity was necessary to take this to court. Blue fortunately had the option to subpoena Twitter to release the information of the Valid L's administrator. If a United States court informs Twitter that the information of a certain user is necessary to continue with legal proceedings, Twitter is obligated to supply them with that information. However, this opens up a John Doe lawsuit, which is used to determine the identity of anonymous or fake online profiles. This process comes with a long list of potential complications. On top of this, successfully suing someone for defamation is no simple feat. Defamation is more than just saying something that's not true. It requires 5 specific qualifiers to meet the standards of defamation in a court of law. These standards are: 1. The information is publicly posted. 2. The person being defamed was identified directly. 3. There's a negative impact on the person's reputation. 4. The published information is clearly false. And 5. The defendant is at fault for the harm caused. While the first 4 qualifiers seem to be met, the 5th standard is where issues arise. It is obvious that Valid L's is heavily implying that Blue is a groomer. However, there is ambiguity they could hide behind legally. For starters, Valid L's never directly states that Blue is a PDF file. They simply posted a picture of what appears to be them speaking to a minor. They never directly state that the photo is authentic either, which could easily be chalked up to a simple joke for legal reasons. This meant that Valid L's would not technically be responsible for the harassment Blue had received, as it could be argued that people had misinterpreted the post. Now, this isn't to say that Valid L's didn't deserve to be sued or have some kind of legal repercussions, but it is to say that the bar to prove defamation is very high in the United States, and Blue had a long road ahead of them if they really wanted to follow through. And ultimately, the $8,000 that was raised was simply not enough to fund a legal battle of this magnitude. Even Blue states in the description of her GoFundMe that she would probably need to raise upwards of $25,000 in total, and even that is an understatement. With all of this combined, Valid L's felt as though the lawsuit was worthless, even going as far as to label it as a scam. He didn't even consult or contact a lawyer beforehand. If this case is even possible, he isn't even aware of how much a defamation case would cost him, even if considering his chance at winning it. His so far $7,000 is just a fraction of what would be the total cost, and I don't think a kid who just lost his only income of dad's financial support is able to pay the lawyer long enough. He also set the GoFundMe donation goal to $1. Why? GoFundMe lets you withdraw as soon as the donation goal has been hit, so he'll use that to withdraw the money as soon as possible. He promised to refund all of it back to everyone, but not sure how that will happen now after it's been withdrawn. Blue only has 3 options now. 1. Refund all of it back. 2. Find a lawyer and actually use the money on that. 3. Run away with the money and instead get fursuits, sex toys, and tickets to furry cons, but that would be fraud. Due to the lack of funding and the seemingly unwinnable nature of the case, Blue would back out of the legal pursuit and probably refund all of the backers. I'm not strong enough to handle the Valid L's lawsuit, so I'm canceling it. It's too much pressure and it wasn't a good idea. I'm sorry for letting you all down. I only wanted justice to be served. Refund should be issued within 3 to 5 days. PM me if you don't receive it. I know I'm gonna get so much for this, but I just want it to be over. I can't handle it, so I'm locking my account for a bit. I was serious about this the whole time, but now with how big it's gotten, and it's just become a disaster. Despite separation from the lawsuit, the damage had already been done. Threats of litigation only further provoked online detractors to continue to harass and target Blue, resulting in her being swatted. This caused Blue to deactivate her Twitter before reactivating it a little over a week later. The harassment would persist, with her trolls hacking her Discord server and nuking it.
One of the trolls hacked one of my admins on my Discord server and was threatening them, and the entire server was pretty much just deleted. All the members were banned, and it was awful.
They would also log into her Twitter, changing her username to state that she was a child enjoyer, along with her full docs in the description. She was luckily able to regain access to her account and delete the sensitive information. Blue also went viral in September of 2023 with a poster she created featuring her persona in a gay pride sports bra with text stating, "Trans rights are human rights." This was met with backlash from both detractors and supporters alike, with the latter feeling as though it made trans people look bad. This is something Blue claimed was devastating. As for her detractors, some will discuss the poster on Soy Jack Party, where her college would be revealed, as well as her new apartment address being doxed. Despite all of this, Blue was adamant that she wasn't going anywhere, and unfortunately, neither were her trolls. On October 30th, 2023, an article written by Claire Goforth was published to the Daily Dot, exposing a hate site that sought to gather as much information about Blue as possible. Not only did this site apparently reveal Blue's full docs, but also offered cash rewards for any information given to the owner. This included $75 for a full log of Blue's private account, $100 for her current phone number, $500 for proof that the Valadell's lawsuit was a scam, and $1,000 for evidence that Blue was a child enjoyer. The latter also offered an additional $1,000 if Blue got arrested, and another $1,000 for a successful conviction. A section of the site reads, "If you're friends with Caden and have proof of what he does, this is your chance to clear your conscience. If you have evidence against Caden that may also incriminate you, please contact me, and we can work out a deal that keeps you safe while bringing him to justice. Have something else worth sharing? I might be interested. Contact me." While the article written by Claire was obviously critical of the unknown site, it seemed to do more harm than good. In an update posted to the site after the article's release, it read, "Thanks to the free publicity from my good friends Claire Goforth and Lucas Ekberg, I've received a large number of reports about Caden over the last few days. I have multiple emails with corroborative evidence that Caden is involved with several infamous furry zoophiles and zoo sadists, as well as downright horrific reports about grooming. And yes, both of these have to do with scat. I'm currently reviewing this information and will publish it as soon as I'm able to verify its authenticity." In a later statement posted to the site, the admin demands cooperation from Blue or else they would leak a previously unseen video. However, it appears an error occurred which leaked the Windows user agent of the site's administrator, whose name is listed as Jericho. Jericho was previously mentioned as they were apparently the one to leak Blue's nudes on Twitter. While it is possible that Jericho is behind the site, this could also be some kind of gay ops run by the admin to obfuscate their true identity. Regardless, nothing ever seemed to come of this, and the allegations of grooming and zoosadism were likely fabricated or exaggerated. Or if they weren't, there has been no credible allegations or proof regarding that subject. Later on, a spectator of Blue began to investigate her Telegram account and found that she was a member of multiple not safe for work chats centered around scat. These would be leaked to the public, officially confirming Blue's twisted affinity. Gonna drop a fresh reeking macro-sized turd in here on that day and cover y'all in it. Holding in a massive turd right now, my belly is so upset. Oh shush, you know I'm a dommy mommy with farts that can be smelt from 10 miles away. As degenerate as these messages are, they really pale in comparison to the images shared in these channels, featuring an assortment of furry animals doing things that I cannot talk about on YouTube. On top of this, a video of Blue would be leaked where she squats over a Dixie paper plate and defecates on it. This video, paired together with the other graphic images from the Telegram messages, has led many to believe that Blue actually enjoys eating her own excrement. While this hasn't been confirmed by Blue herself, it is a common belief that she does in fact do this. Valadell's eventually caught wind of this revelation, creating a whole thread documenting her leaked messages, leaked pictures, and of course the now infamous plate video. But Valadell's would take down the post a few days later, claiming they didn't want to keep it up on their page for much longer. And shortly after the thread was posted, their account was ultimately suspended, something that Blue Wolf rejoiced in. And thus, the Valadell's arc came to a close. But unfortunately for Blue, the drama was far from over. As mentioned prior, Jericho was only one of the prominent A-logs with an unhealthy obsession with Blue. There are two others that were extremely active in tormenting Blue around this time that are certainly worthy of note. The first being Rose. Rose is a transgender intersex furry who is one of the most infamous A-loggers of Blue Wolf. Rose created a Google site to host doxes of trans individuals she despised, including Blue. She was responsible for the hacking of an administrator in Blue Wolf's Discord server, mentioned earlier, which resulted in the entire community being nuked. She also openly associated with and aided Valadell's, at one point sharing doxes in a Telegram chat with a Valadell's account. After their suspension, Rose claimed that she was blackmailed by the account's owner with her own dox, yet still despises Blue and her inner circle. Rose has earned herself a few of her own Kiwi Farms threads, which document her proclivity to be involved with drama or just generally unhinged behavior. The second notable A-log is Casey, who was responsible for swatting Blue in July of 2023. She would also frequently fabricate information, typically relating to acts of domestic terrorism or being a criminal. She would even go as far as to create blogs in which she fabricated emails of bomb threats, mass murders, and threats made by Blue's friends. These blog posts are clearly vitriolic hit pieces rather than genuine attempts to expose the shady nature of Blue's inner circle. In July, I was notified that Blue Wolf was threatening to blow up police departments and schools. The email was leaked, and I got my hands on it. I then handed it over to the chief of police. house. A few hours after this, police kicked his door in, and the next day, Caden blamed trolls for swatting him instead of his plans being foiled. Attached is a supposed email Blue had sent, however, this is definitely fake. Casey did this with multiple other friends and orbiters of Blue, such as her friend Crossy, who she claimed had threatened to bring explosives and firearms to a high school. Another fake email showed Blue's friend, Comet Wolf, making threats of bringing weapons to a city hall meeting in their local town. On top of this is a manifesto supposedly created by Shreds the Wolf, detailing their plans of enacting revenge on their childhood bullies by brutally defiling a young child after kidnapping them from school while threatening to harm anyone who attempts to stop them. This is a genuinely unhinged person who is faking emails to accuse others of crimes and hopefully get them arrested. This blog post also includes a supposed email from another of Blue's friends, Azzy the Wolf, who threatens to do something quite similar, stealing a child and brutalizing them. There's no doubt that some of these individuals have done unsavory things worthy of criticism, such as Comet Wolf apparently using the GoFundMe for their dead partner's funeral to pay for a new phone and tattoo, but it doesn't really matter in this case because these emails and allegations are not authentic in any sense of the word, and Casey is an unhinged stalker. There's so much information on both these individuals documenting actions and behaviors that far surpass anything Blue herself has done, earning themselves infamy of their own and controversies with no relation to Blue herself. And while the finer details of these people may distract from the central focus of the video, it is important to highlight how deranged Blue's most prominent detractors are. Luckily, Blue's most prominent A-logs seem to back off for a time, with Jericho and Casey disappearing from the internet entirely. And things continued to look up as Blue finally got her full fursuit, which she proudly showed off to her mother. Shortly after, Blue would unprivate her Not Safe for Work Twitter account, stating she wasn't afraid to show who she truly was. Despite Blue's father still refusing to accept her, the rest of the family were thrilled about her furry status, with her mother wanting to get a fursuit of her own.
So for those that don't know, my dad is basically a huge piece of that basically financially disowned me when I was 18 for going to a furry convention. Only to have the other day my dad texting me about my mom about how I made her a furry a few years ago and how she was asking for a fursuit for Valentine's Day.
It even got to the point where her grandparents became interested in the furry lifestyle, which culminated in Blue commissioning artwork of her family's personas for a beautiful furry family portrait. Imagine this above the fireplace. It would really tie the room together. Blue would also get a new fursuit head, which featured more feminine features like eye makeup, as well as some new gold piercings and long purple hair. After everything involving Valadels and her A-logs, Blue would manage to stay out of drama for the rest of the year. However, on March 7th of 2024, something much more serious would happen. Blue would take to Twitter claiming she had been physically assaulted. I can't even begin to explain how scared I am after tonight. This evening when I was on a walk, while it was getting dark on a pathway not far from my house, a guy came up out of nowhere and threatened me with a knife. It's all a blur to me now, and it all happened so fast, but it was terrifying. He was a bigger build, and I think he thought I was a cis female at first because I was wearing a skirt, and then when he saw me up close, he called me a homophobic slur. When I tried to get away, he punched me really hard in the face, hitting my nose, so I used my hands to push away the knife, cutting up my hand all over and barely grazing my face. I ran home as fast as I possibly could. When I got back, my roommate took care of me, and I told him what had happened. He cleaned me up and I'm still so shaken up. I'm okay physically for the most part. My hand is still in tons of pain, but nothing is broken. Mentally though, I don't even know. I'm still processing what happened. No one should ever have to experience something like this. Blue would later blame transphobia and anti-LGBT rhetoric for the attack. While many in her audience were sympathetic to the story, some others had their doubts due to the untrustworthy reputation she had cultivated. These doubts compelled Blue to post images of her injuries, which to some only further discredited her story. Many pointed out that she said she used her hands to push away the knife, which had cut her hand all over. Yet according to them, her hand seemed mostly untouched, aside from a few small cuts here and there. That being said, the assault could have very well taken place, and there's no definitive evidence that it didn't. While she did state her intentions to file a police report, it's unknown if this was ever actually followed through on, and Blue would move on from the situation. Regardless, many detractors of Blue believed the story was fake and began discussing it. This resulted in a thread on Soyjack Party, where the infamous plate video would resurface, as it seems the video was, at the time, lost media. Kiwi Farms users would catch wind of this, and were simply disgusted by the contents to say the least. Shortly after, Blue would address her trolls, revealing that one of them apparently created an account pretending to be her father, where he would respond to all of her tweets with backhanded messages of sympathy. Blue would later post on Twitter, reflecting about her and her father's relationship. I can't believe almost 2 years ago, my dad cut me off for going to a fur con and I moved out. And it's been a month since I disowned him after years of being awful and transphobic towards me. I've come so far, and here I am now, free, happy, and able to be myself. Despite her feelings of growth and liberation, not everything seemed to be looking up. In April of 2024, a furry Twitter user named Snowball would tragically take his own life. In a moment moment of severe grief at this passing, one of Snowball's best friends, Raleigh, would also take their life the next day. Blue stated that she was crushed and devastated by the deaths of Raleigh and Snowball. However, many were quick to point out that Blue was not mutual followers with either Raleigh or Snowball, leading many to believe that her reaction to the situation was greatly exaggerated. That said, it's possible that regardless of their mutual connection, it's still reasonable to assume that Blue may have felt sympathetic for these people, as they were both members of a community she deeply cared about. Regardless, this controversy paled in comparison to what would come next. Reuben Sim is a YouTuber well known for his videos analyzing and criticizing Roblox. In a video ranking types of Roblox players, he dedicates a section to furries. During this, he shows a furry weirdo iceberg featuring Blue Falf amongst other infamous members of the furry community.
At the very top, you have the 5% that are normal. Then you have the rest of them, who furiously deny that their habits amount to zoophilia. This is because, in their mind, if an animal has human-like features and human intelligence, there's nothing wrong with wanting to it.
Blue interpreted this comment as being labeled a zoophile, which is a person with a sexual attraction towards animals. She would eventually call on YouTube themselves to intervene, claiming that Reuben was targeting innocent people and using his fanbase to harass them. Hundreds of Reuben Sim fans have sent me death threats, gore, doxed my address, even sent phone calls to my family members since I made posts about them. He's done nothing to stop it, and if anything, he's encouraging it. Reuben would eventually respond to this claim, stating, "As someone who's constantly being sent doxing and swatting and harassment threats by furries, I understand how serious this stuff is. I condemn anyone that does this, especially those who claim to be my fans. Furries should do the same." Shortly after this, Blue would reveal that her Twitter profile was taken down with a false DMCA and would accuse Reuben Sim and his community of being responsible. However, it was later revealed that the A-log Casey was responsible. Eventually, the DMCA claim was rejected and Blue's profile picture was restored. Blue had stated in May of 2023 that she was done with drama for good. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be the last internet kerfuffle she was involved in. In November of 2022, a Twitter user by the name of IceFoxWorks, otherwise known as Crossy, would announce their new soda brand called Fursodas, with the help of their business partner, Blue Falf. Fursodas aim to make furry-themed LGBT sodas for gay furries, I guess. And for the low price of just $90, you could buy yourself one whole bottle of soda, not to mention a free sticker. Talk about value. With their extremely niche target demographic and ridiculously upcharged sugar water, it's easy to see that this wasn't the most bulletproof business model, but any chance it may have had to succeed was crushed with the help of Blue. Apparently, Blue had not been pulling her weight with the company, as in messages sent as early as February of 2023, Crossy had already voiced her concerns with the lack of effort, stating, "I think we do need to discuss your part in the company and how you see yourself in it. Right now, I'll admit it's a little bit frustrating how things currently stand. It's frustrating to essentially be running the business by myself, but still be expected to run things by you and have people contact you that I never get told about or they get brought up to me. Not to mention, I barely get recognized as being one of the owners of the company despite running the entire thing. It's very hard to get answers from you about things, and sometimes a lot of these decisions I can't wait every few days to talk about. Half the time, you don't even really acknowledge some of the things I ask or say. I know that could be from work or school or anything else, but it isn't easy to run a business as a partnership without the ability to communicate. On top of that, it's really difficult to get you to help even with the smaller and simpler things that need to be done, like just linking me to artists that you mentioned reached out to you, or retweeting and promoting the company. Even just asking for help getting supplies and stuff is difficult, and if we're going to succeed, then I need you to help me do those specific things. I think what adds to that frustration is that I know you can do some of these things. You're on Twitter pretty often, and from what I understand, you're in the process of buying a fursuit, so I know you can help me with supplies, and I know you can promote more than you do. It's just upsetting that for some reason, you're not. I definitely don't know your financial situation, and I'm in no way entitled to your spending habits and decisions, but I do feel like it's a bit unfair to be investing in a fursuit while your business partner is actively funding the business out of their own pocket. While she seemed to acknowledge these concerns at the time, issues relating to Blue's involvement in the company would persist over the next year. In March of 2024, Crossy would voice her concerns with the overwhelming debt she was carrying. Blue Falf's lack of involvement forced Crossy to take on all the expenses required to keep the company afloat, putting her over $6,500 in debt and destroying her credit. Both messages sent to Blue would be read and ignored. Crossy would put her foot down, stating as a final warning, "At this point, you have got to start helping me pay this off. Your half of the expenses over a year was $4,000. You need to find some way to pay that. If you can't, or choose not to, I really don't want to go public with all of this, or take legal action, but I'm going to have to do so. I can't survive. My family cannot survive while we're having to pay all of this off." Blue supposedly responded to this message, telling Crossy that she would take care of the situation. However, as Crossy tried to follow up with her, she would be left on red once again. With her hands tied, Crossy had no other option than to make a public spectacle out of the entire thing. On May 4th of 2024, Crossy revealed the situation publicly, exposing how Blue had essentially destroyed the company. Around December of 2022, I had started working with Blue Falf about a company we were trying to start up. I had originally planned to do this on my own, own, but we both had the idea and agreed to work together on it. I planned for this venture to start up officially with a 3-year business plan that included the path to getting a physical location. Unfortunately, Blue started advertising, doing raffles, bringing in team members and a task force to spearhead the project way ahead of its reasonably projected start date. There was no way to keep up, and due to all of it being extremely public, I had to keep up with everything. For the entire 9 or so months that Blue and I worked together, I was stuck doing every single thing regarding the business and paying Blue's portion of the expenses because she wasn't able to. It's notable to explain she was going to many cons during this time, leaving me to pay her side of things until eventually, in September 2023, I told her she was being ousted from the company. Unfortunately, it left me with an $8,000 debt from having to charge her expenses on a business card for almost a year. Around September 2023, I started to receive a lot of targeted harassment. I was working on Fursodas and was primarily handling all the business things on my own, and for the most part, she was completely uninvolved with the company. September 2023, she got into a bunch of trouble. She was the target of a massive anti-trans campaign, and because she associated herself with Fursodas, I was thrown into the mix. They targeted me, my family, my job, my clients, everything. I had people creating false police reports against me and making fake emails to make it look like I was going to harm people. They had my face and my address posted online in multiple locations, and my phone number was leaked. Everything was really bad around that time. People rallied in support for Casey, feeling as though what Blue had done was negligent and cruel. While the guilt of putting someone $6,000 in debt might not have been enough to warrant the response, the risk of further soiling her reputation was enough for Blue to finally decide to make things right. I'm working on getting the money together for them. I wouldn't back down on my promises like that, especially for a friend like Crossy. It's on me. I'm sorry for taking so long, and I'm sorry things turned out the way they did with the company. Blue would empty their bank account in full, sending the $430 they had, while also promising to pay $1,000 per month until the debt was paid off. Blue also expressed deep remorse for the situation, claiming, "I really wish I could go back and be more responsible with this whole thing. It ended up hurting you financially." This statement is odd, as Blue was made well aware of Crossy's finances and completely ignored it. It wasn't until she was publicly called out that she felt guilt and wanted to make the situation right. If she really cared, none of this would have happened in the first place. This sentiment is echoed by numerous responses to Blue, feeling as though she would have simply let the situation die if Crossy hadn't pushed the issue. And as a result, Blue would begin to consistently bleed followers for the foreseeable future. Recently, Blue took a photo with her friends in which they comically flip off a Chick-fil-A sign in their fursuits. Someone who was aware of Blue's past decided to quote retweet this image, saying, "I just want you guys to know that the one with the blue fursuit head ate their own And it appears due to the heavy amount of attention this tweet got, Blue deactivated their account. In one final message posted by Blue, she says, "I can't go on anymore. I can't keep doing this. I'm so unhappy with my life and just the way everything turned out. I'm tired of being sick and having constant health issues. I'm tired of the fake people in my life pretending to care about me for years, only to drop me when I actually am struggling. I'm so tired of people making things up about me that literally aren't even true. My life is ruined and no one cares. It's so exhausting, and my dysphoria is getting worse and worse, and I feel so alone. The mistakes I've made, just everything. I only wanted to make people happy at the end of the day, and I failed. I'm sorry. I just can't keep doing this. Please don't blame yourself. Goodbye. I love you all so much." In her final tweet before deactivating, she states her intentions to end her own life. Thankfully, it seems that any attempts she might have made were unsuccessful. On September 21st, she returned to her Blue Wolf Twitter account with a long thread detailing the events of the past few weeks. According to Blue, she did indeed attempt to take her own life, but failed. Her reasoning for attempting was the overwhelming amount of harassment she endured in her time as a public figure, with the Chick-fil-A quote tweet being the final straw. Due to the post's virality, discourse about Blue's past was reignited, with many repeating unproven or fabricated stories about her. And so, she felt compelled to address these rumors and clear the air. She states that she did not intentionally scam Crossy, rather that she was extremely negligent in managing her role in Fursodas. While Blue fails to mention the scale of the debt or the damage to Crossy's credit score, she does try to take responsibility, praises Crossy's character, and wishes them well. She also addresses a rumor that she faked liver cancer, stating that she was diagnosed with fatty liver disease in July. While it seems that Blue never directly claimed to have liver cancer, her Telegram bio at one point stated that she was dying from liver failure. She states this is because her doctor told her she might have liver failure, which made her feel freaked out. Boogie2988 moment based. Blue then confesses to her scat fetish and seemingly confirms that the infamous plate video was actually her, stating, "The fact people are leaking something so embarrassing to try and ruin my reputation is just so awful." From what I can tell, Blue never admitted to being responsible for the video up until this point, which explains why many defenders of Blue questioned if the video was actually of her. She also states that she's never eaten which seems to be the case as there is no direct proof of it. Lastly, she clarifies the doctored screenshots of her grooming a minor are not real and were posted by the Valid L's account in an attempt to ruin her reputation. To close the thread, she states, "I'm sure you're all tired of hearing about this. I'm exhausted and tired. I'm 20, and I know I've made a lot of mistakes, but please just give me a chance to grow instead of endlessly bashing me." I hope this thread was able to clear some things up. Blue has since moved out of Georgia and will likely be continuing their life as an online figure. Typically, when furry figures fall into controversy, it's for truly heinous and despicable things relating to the abuse of animals or children. But Blue Fulf is a very unique case, as a majority of their controversies don't even stem from any particularly immoral behavior, but rather a series of unfortunate events, some due to no fault of their own, and others due to incompetence or some general dishonesty. Blue Fulf is ultimately a cautionary tale of the dangers of online attention, especially within virtual spaces like the furry community. While they may have tarnished their online reputation beyond repair, it's not impossible for their real life to come back to some sense of normalcy. But for now, what started as a young child finding a passion for colorful anthropomorphic animals became an inescapable nightmare of drama, with almost nothing to show for it. I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.